In this video, we cover 10 resources to learn the Georgian language. Finding good resources can be a challenge, and so whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or even an advanced learner, if you're looking for good resources, then this video is for you. And before we get started, if you are thinking about traveling to Tbilisi and you're looking for a place to stay, just wanted to recommend this hotel. It's called the Best Hotel. It's opened up by a friend of mine. He had helped me out a lot during the Peace Corps when I was there, and I just wanted to return the favor by sharing their place. It's on booking.com. It has a 9.2 review, average review, and there's a lot of nice photos of the place itself. And the location is great. It's right in the heart of Old Tbilisi, which is a cool part of the town or the city that has a lot of nice attractions and old historic things to see. So if you're looking for a place to stay in Tbilisi, go ahead and check them out. The first resource we're going to look at is the Peace Corps Georgian language textbook. And I think this is one of the best and first resources that I would recommend to someone because I think most people are probably studying on their own. They're looking for something free. They may be probably beginner to intermediate learners. And I think this is not advanced, but definitely new learners and new learners and intermediate learners could get something out of this. So another thing is that keep in mind it's put together by some of the best teachers who have been doing this for probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years now. And these are a lot of teachers who have taught me and other Peace Corps volunteers. And so this is just a great resource put together by all of them. So as we take a look at it, one, it's in English and it covers different topics like where are you from, places, and I think another added benefit of this is that it's a good balance between adding a little bit of grammar that can really boost your learning, but not being too grammar heavy. I find that sometimes there's not enough grammar and it's just memorizing words or vocabulary, which is okay in the beginning, but as you progress, you'll need to learn a little bit of grammar. And then the other extreme, sometimes where I come across these academic books, which are just so heavy with grammar that it becomes it slows you down. So I think this strikes a nice balance for those who are just starting out. At the beginning of each chapter, it will just pull one up. So there's different exercises in there that you can do, but it'll also cover a little grammar introduction. So kind of what I was talking about with introducing just a little bit of grammar to help you with your language. And then gives a little bit of explanation in English, some exercises you could do if you like to write in things. You could probably just print this out and do it yourself. You could also go through a tutor, go through this with a tutor. That would be highly recommended. And again, it's free, so I'll leave a link to where you can get this resource. This second resource is called Georgian Language Comprehensive, and it's a PDF I found online, and I didn't see any sort of copyright thing for sharing it, so hopefully that's not the case. It's written by Liam Campbell and edited by Revaz Shavladze, so thanks to them for providing this wonderful resource. And similar to the Peace Corps resource, it's kind of organized by different topics, and in each of those there's some different vocabulary, there's some explanation of grammar, and I think this one it's more in depth with the level of grammar that it covers. I think still not too heavy, but for maybe intermediate or even just someone who's starting out looking for something a little bit more serious, then this is a good resource. So likewise, they put out a PDF called Georgian Verbs Comprehensive, and this one will focus specifically on the Georgian verb, which is a key part to understanding the language and also getting better at it. So they cover different things like the different types of verbs, the different patterns for each of those, and one of the probably the best things about this, they give a lot of explanation about the verb, but as you go down, they present these very nice charts for the different persons, so first person, second person, third person, etc., and then also some of the different not conjugations, but the different tenses as well. So they give the different endings. So if you're an intermediate learner, I would recommend it, or anyone just looking to dive deeper into the Georgian verb. I would caution that I think it's a little bit simplified. It seems to differ from some of the more academic books that I've seen, but I think it strikes a good balance again with trying to give you some helpful grammar without being weighed down by uh, the very specific granular details of understanding the verbs. This third resource is called Georgian as a Foreign Language, and it's a website, I believe, that's put on by the Georgian government, and there's a ton of good resources in here. Just I'll point out one, for instance, if you go to this A1 level, and if we go to interactive exercises, there's a bunch of audio clips here that you could listen to. I don't know if it has the exact transcript, but just kind of nice snippets, not too fast. You know, they read clearly. That's a great resource. There's also it's a lot of workbook type things. So if you're a workbook type person, let's see. For instance, there's this workbook here and the different lessons. So again, you have some audio here, and then just some workbook in here. I think the workbook is only in Georgian, so that's one downside to it, but it's something you could probably do with a tutor if they don't have a lot of resources. This would be a good resource to use with them. So that's the Georgian as a Foreign Language website. The fourth resource is our Facebook group called Almost Native Georgian. We're still rather small, only about 200, but I think it's a great place to ask some of your specific questions. I try to answer those that come up, and there are also other people in the group who I think are able to answer some of your questions as well. There have been people who have posted interest in practicing with others, so that might be an opportunity as well. And I also try to organize some of the videos so that's a little bit more systematic in trying to learn. So that's another great resource. This fifth resource is called Beginner's Georgian by Dodona Kidziria, and it's a resource that was pretty popular among volunteers. I thought it was pretty good. One of the things I liked about it was that it's systematic. One of the downsides with just kind of learning on your own can be that you can be kind of all over the place with your learning, and this presents it in a pretty systematic way. I think the best part about the book was that it provided these audio CDs which allowed you to listen to different situations and practice your listening, which is really nice. Um, Again, I think there's a lot of free resources that you could use before getting to this one, but if you find that you're kind of running out of resources or you can't find good audio clips to listen to, then this would be a good alternative. And you could probably find it online used. I don't know exactly how much it would cost. I know on Amazon, I think new it's about 30 bucks. And if you would like to buy it, you could support the channel by using my affiliate link below. And so yeah, that's Beginner's Georgian. Resource number 6 is this Georgian verb book put out by Peace Corps. So thanks to Peace Corps for providing this free resource, and also to all of the teachers who, our language teachers who had put in a lot of hard work to make this possible. And in my opinion, I think it's a great resource for intermediate and advanced learners, anyone looking to go deeper with the Georgian verb. And I think it's an absolute gold mine, so let me just show you what I'm talking about. So for one, it lists out all of the verbs, and there's a lot of them, in alphabetical order in English, so that you could look up the different verbs. And then on the right side, it provides the masdar, or the what's like the infinitive. And then for each of the different verbs, so if we pull up, for example, to accept, it shows the masdar, migheba, and then it shows present, past progressive, past simple. So basically all of the different tenses and all of the different persons. It doesn't count the 11th tense because that's pretty rare, but it pretty much covers everything else. Also includes the participle. And then also what's really nice is it gives you example sentences for each of the different tenses, which is fantastic. And then also, if you are familiar with person alignments, then it gives you some examples for that, which is also a great help. So this is a great resource. There's a ton of different verbs in here. And so I think there really is no need for buying resources, really. Again, if you wanted to if you felt like your resources were being exhausted and you need to look for other stuff that you need to buy. But I think this is one that you could take a lot of time to really study and utilize. So resource number 7 is this translate.ge, which is just an online dictionary. So if you weren't already using an online dictionary or you weren't sure which one was pretty good, I found that this one was pretty helpful. In order to look up verbs, it can be a little tricky because sometimes you'll have to look it up by the masdar. Sometimes it does have the third person in there or some examples so you can find stuff, but generally I think this is a good online dictionary to use. The 8th resource is utilizing a tutor, and of course this is something you would have to pay for, but I think, at least for me, this was an absolute critical part of becoming proficient in the language. And so one of the specific resources is using italki. There's a bunch of different tutors on here, and they range in prices from $8 to $12, which I think is pretty reasonable. And I also have some suggestions for tutors that I've utilized if you'd be interested in that. It's both my previous tutors as well as people that I worked with that were basically my informal tutors. So you can send me a message or a comment and I can give you the info on that. But definitely, if you're serious about learning the language, I think having a tutor is great. And I think the other thing about it is that it provides some motivation to learn because you're actually interacting with a real person. Whereas if you're just studying a book or watching a video, you're not really forced to learn and you may not have as much motivation to be able to communicate with a person. So I think that's another big plus with getting a tutor. Resource number 9 is watching Georgian shows. And there's a lot of shows that you could watch online, both Georgian and then also some Turkish shows that are dubbed in Georgian. But one specific one that I would recommend is called Ჩემი, ცოლის დაქალები, which is basically my wife's girlfriends or like best friends. And I think it's one of my favorites because not only is it in Georgian and you're not watching kind of a weird dubbed episode, but it provides a lot of insight into Georgian culture. I think it's pretty relevant and it's up to date, and it talks about a lot of the real life issues that Georgians face. It's a little bit heavier, and there's kind of a lot of swearing in later episodes, so I think, or the later seasons. So I'd probably recommend things that are maybe some of the earlier seasons, but you can watch it free on YouTube, and it can be challenging, if you're just starting out, so maybe more of the intermediate learners, but if it's something you want to watch and just get started with, I think this is a great resource. There are also a couple other shows that I've seen, but this is probably my favorite. And resource number 10 is going to be news sources online. So one of them is, it's called Amerikis Khma, which is Voice of America, and it has articles you can read in Georgian, so you can check that out. There's another one that I like to use, which is called Rustaviori, and I think the political leaning on this one is pretty far one direction. Georgians have told me not to read it, but the main reason why I like it is because you can watch the videos, and in those videos they usually have at least a part of the transcript online, so I can follow along as I'm hearing it. So maybe I didn't catch what a word was, or I kind of want to take a look at the sentence structure, then I can do that. So I think it's a good resource if you like watching the news or just keeping up to date with current events. I think it's a good one. Alright, so that's it for all of the resources. Of course, that wasn't an exhaustive list, but I think it was a good one that covered a variety of different types of resources to look at, whether you like to read something or listen to something or watch something, or you like to study grammar or do something with a tutor. I think different resources will definitely differ in how effective they are depending on what type of learner you are and just how you like to learn. So if you have any recommendations for other resources, go ahead and put them in the comments below. And until next time, Drovit.